In this video, we're going racing. Our last episode, we put together the engine, we dynoed it, we got it at a power level we were happy with, now we're ready to go. We have put a ton of hours in on this truck. Not only this truck, we have Will's junker drag truck we were taking, and also our employee Lawnon, he has a truck, we wanted him to take that as well. So we have 3 trucks we're trying to get ready to go race in Phoenix. One thing we didn't think about was the transportation down there. We kind of neglected that thing. So we load up the trucks in the semi and we start heading down the road. About an hour from the road, we blow up an intercooler boot. This is on a big truck. Of all the boots we don't have this boot. And so we kind of found a way to make it work, and we blew up again about 30 minutes down the road again further. We're considering, are we going to be able to make it to Phoenix and make it home? Well, we decided we're going to try. So we kind of patched it together on the side of the road, and luckily that's the last issue it gave us the whole trip, so it worked out great. Gates open, I think 7:30 a.m. We showed up at the gates about 6:30 a.m. So we drove all night, and we're ready to go. We unload the trucks, set the timing. I like to set my truck at about 32 degrees for this particular race, because again, I'm not making crazy power. And we had it all set, ready to go. And I was just waiting for my turn to go up and do my first qualifying pass. I'm pulling up to the line and everything seems fine. And I'm building boost to the line and I'm really happy. It builds boost very easily. As luck would have it, Will and the junker drag truck is next to me for my first pass on the track. I'm not really concerned about cutting a good light. I'm just trying to figure out how this thing's going to spool, how I'm going to stage this thing. And so he hit the green light and he took off, and a second or two later I took off. And I went flying past him because he had his own problems. So things were going well, but the shifter shifted wrong. We have an automatic shifter in this thing that does it for me because it's so violent in this truck, it's hard to hit the shifts right, so I try to program this.
He's up in the top, blew fuel lines. So we oiled down the track and fuel. What happened to you? There's something wrong with that fitting. Okay. Do we have stuff to fix the fitting?
There's nothing more embarrassing as a drag racer than to oil down or water down the track. It happens to everybody. Nobody's mad at you. Nobody gives you a hard time. You just hate to be that guy. And I was that guy, so that sucked. And what it was is we had a fitting come loose on my Waterman fuel pump.
Clean that one first, get the RTV on it so we can start setting up. Clean this one second, get it tightened with Loctite, and then start cleaning the whole block.
But now we have a huge mess to clean up. So we are scrubbing down the whole underside of the carriage because we can't be dripping oil or any kind of fluids along the track. So we are cleaning up the thing. Then we get the engine started and we notice the fluid dampener as we're spinning is wobbly. It's not true. Like, great, what happened there? So now we got to pull off the fluid dampener. And we had Loctited it and torqued it to spec. We even made custom dowels that were solid metal rather than the roll pins supplied with the kit because we were worried about this thing. Because in the past I've had issues with these dampeners. They have so much abuse of these high RPM engines. They're hard. They're hard to keep on there, hard to keep the bolts torqued. And so when we noticed this wobbly, we went down there and the bolts had vibrated loose. They were finger tight. We could take them all out with our fingers. They were torqued over 100 foot-pounds. One race down the track, taking them out with your fingers. I had so much trouble with these. So that's awesome. And in doing this, it vibrated against the crank and it was a mess. Like when you pull them off, they were both no longer flat. There's metal transfer back and forth. It was a real wreck. So I'm pretty frustrated at this point in time. I mean, nobody's fault. It just sucks. You know, we're here, drove all this way, got one pass, oil down the track. My whole entire truck is covered in diesel fuel from being pumped out of my Waterman fuel pump. And my next race is not too long away. Ends up, the next qualifying round, I was not able to make. We had the dampener off. We ended up putting it back on with the dowels. And so we got it back on there, torqued it. So we're good. So we started up and we're great. Okay, cool. I get to go to round one, first round of eliminations in Super Street. I missed my qualifying round, so my qualifying position was okay. I think I qualified like 4th out of 6 trucks because my first round, the shifting was wrong, but still got 4th. Fine, that's great. So I pull up there thinking, well, hopefully I don't screw up, because if this guy knows what he's doing, it's gonna be hard for me to get through this, because I still haven't got my procedures quite right yet. Still learning a lot on this truck. And as luck would have it, the person I was, to race, he had broken. He couldn't race. So I had a race on myself. So it's a practice run for me. So this is great. I can practice bumping and staging. So I have the trans brake, and I'm trying to bump in on the button. As I do that, it goes too far, and I go through both staging lights. And now the race is like started, and now I'm sitting there stuck, and the race should be started. The starter, thinks I'm an idiot. I feel like an idiot. But anyway, he's pretty nice. He's pretty cool, as they usually are. He backs me up and lets me start again. So I back up, pull up the start lines, hit the trans brake, and then I launch, and I was just trying to get through some shifting. Still wasn't a great pass, but it works okay. We get back to the pits, and we notice we had a little bit of oil on the engine. We're like, well, where is this oil coming from? We're pretty frustrated about this. And as we do some homework or do some investigation, we see it's coming from the valve cover. And so we're trying to figure out why it's coming from the valve cover, and we find out the bolts are loose. I feel like I'm riding an old big bore 2-stroke motorcycle. Every time I ride it, the bolts vibrate loose. So the bolts that were tight yesterday are now all loose, and since the valve cover is loose, it's just floating, the oil is just falling out everywhere. So we re-tighten all those bolts again, hose down the motor again, hose down the chassis again. Luckily this was not near as bad as a diesel. It didn't make a huge mess, but you still got to clean it up. So we got it all cleaned up. Now I'm ready for my last pass. Now I'm in the semifinals. If I get past this round, I'm in the finals. Keep in mind, I feel lucky to be here. I haven't even made a good pass yet.
Okay. Hey man, this is it. And I haven't even gone fast yet.
Philip Franklin has gone well. Franklin has already set a world record.
We get up to the starting line. I'm feeling pretty good about things. We've kind of figured out some of the issues along the way. We've solved those issues, and now I'm ready to make a good pass. And so we get spooled up, and I'm ready to go, and as soon as I let off that trans brake, it pulls so hard to the right. I literally almost ran directly into the wall. It's like you might as well just hit the gas and turn right and run into the wall. And that's what happened. I was so close. I think that's about 1/4 of an inch or an inch my wheel. You can see the path I went from hitting the wall. And so what happened is we think when those wheels launched, they both want to do this, and it bent that bar. It's like an upside down rainbow. And so when those wheels are going this way, this right wheel came right off the rim. I mean, instantly came off the rim. That left wheel is still on the rim, but it just pulled me right over, right into the wall.
I really don't know what happened. I don't know why it came off.
And so that ended my day.
Does Lon have a spare tire in his truck? Or your Mega?
Yeah. The track guys came out with the trailer. They winched me up onto the trailer.
Let's pull him real quick.
And they took me back to the pits. We got back to the pits. We were able to put the tire back on the wheel, pump it up so I could load the truck. But both my tires are now pointing towards each other in the front, kind of like a Duramax does when they sled pull, kind of looks like that. And so we need to beef up the front end steering components, which we're going to do. So I don't know, I've raced with these steering components for years, never had any issues. I personally believe the new trans brake is able to launch so much harder and hit so much harder than a foot brake roll-on was able to do. Because I've never had this problem in the past. So now we got to beef that up, hoping we can really leave hard. And we got some suspension tuning to do. We found as well we were kind of bouncy off the line. That's a big problem. So figured out the motor issues. They're all just leaks that were weird, loose fittings. And so we have to be a lot more religious about tightening bolts between rounds, checking everything between rounds. And now we got some suspension tuning to do and some steering stuff to do. And hopefully we can go tear it up with the next race we're going to hit. So between now and UCC, there's a couple of test and tunes at the local track that we're going to hit. Try to get this thing sorted out so we can go fast on the track. Obviously, we're going to do a lot of dyno testing. We want to make sure we hit a good number on that dyno so we can be competitive with the UCC crowd. And we're going to put together our sled pulling again just to make sure everything's still there, still fits. We're going to reuse the stuff we used last year, so hopefully that gives us a good success like last time. And that's where we're at right now for UCC 2018. If you're new around here, make sure to click that like button, give us a comment, subscribe. We want to hear from you. Thanks.